Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 6th episode of the Overlay Poker Podcast. We have Brandon again on the line. Brandon, how are you?
What's up? I'm pretty good. Feeling good.
We're still in COVID-19 2020, so we're still doing this remotely. But, yeah, it's been weird. I haven't seen you for a month. When's the last time I've gone a month without seeing you?
When I was in college.
I would say
probably.
Oh, yeah, even then?
10, yeah. I mean, yeah. 2009.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
Or at least 9 years and some change.
Yep.
It's kind of wild.
It is kind of wild.
To think about that social distancing has made Brandon and I better friends because now we talk on the phone even more than we ever did before.
That's true. I wake up to a phone call.
Do you have like a call list that you go through? Like I wake up in the morning, I talk to Lindsay, and then like I call my dad, and then I call my brother, and then I call you, and then I'm like, okay, who's next on my list of people to call? And then I start calling the like I don't want to call them the B team, but then I start calling the B team numbers too, you know?
Right. They're like the once every other day, or like
yeah. There's like
every 3 days.
There's like one every 3 days, and then there's people I call like once a week. I will give my mom a lot of credit. I don't know if she listens to the podcast, but she is my number one vlog watcher. So hopefully she's figuring out how to listen to our podcast. But I will say this. My daughter now knows how to call her from her iPad, like doing FaceTime. And my poor mother, she spends an hour on the phone playing LOL dolls with my two daughters, like on the iPad. Adorable. It's great. Like, it's so nice. Like, again, it's that weird sensation of like people are kind of getting closer together even though that they can't actually see one another.
Yeah. I think that like technology is definitely, or the older generation is definitely being exposed to technology like they never have before.
Way more, and like doing
like
more.
Like your mom can just rip out and FaceTime, and like
I will.
It's weird that a 5-year-old and however old your mom is,
63. She might be mad that I put that out there, but her birthday's coming up, so she'll be 64 pretty soon. But
jeez,
yeah, I know she doesn't act like she's 63, so that's a good thing.
But it's cool that like they can take like an iPhone or an iPad and like connect it to a 5-year-old and a 63.
Yeah, and my daughter Sawyer knows how to call her. Like, it's insane. But anyways, it's pretty cool. I will also give my mom a shout out because her meme game is getting really, really good. Like, I'll say something like, oh, let's do a family Zoom for Easter or whatever. My mom will like respond with like a funny meme. And I was like, how the hell did you learn how to do that? You know?
Right.
I assume my sister probably taught her how to use like Jiffy or something. And like that was a Pandora's box that she probably shouldn't have opened. But
this is what I'm saying. Like they're getting in touch with the technology.
Yeah, she's never used a meme before. And it is funny because I was watching the Tiger King and I, which was that like 8th episode like recap, which they did like all through Zoom, which was pretty cool. And the guy called it a meme or a meme. And I was just like, oh, man, I wonder how many people are afraid to say a meme. Because it is a meme, right? Like it's
a meme.
Meme. Although it's spelled
M-E-M-E.
M-E-M-E. But like people say memes or memes. It's just great. Like, did you see that really cool meme? And I was like, what?
Well, it's the same thing with GIF and GIF.
Yeah, I don't agree with GIF and GIF. I like to say GIF because I think it's... Oh, no, I say GIF. What do I say?
I think it's supposed to be GIF, right?
I don't know. We had this conversation once before. We have really derailed
I think we looked it up
episode 6.
I don't know.
Giphy.
What's our topic today?
Today we're going to talk about run good vibes.
All right.
Because we did a bad beat story episode, which was episode 2, the gambler's mentality, which I probably should have called it something about bad beats because there's some really great bad beat stories in that one. We each give one, and we talk about bad beats in general and the etiquette of bad beats. So if you haven't listened to that episode, we're going to plug our first plug. Go ahead and check that out, episode 2,
nice.
The Gambler's Mentality. This is like part 2 of that, but it's going to be the flip side. We're going to talk about run good stories rather than just always the bad beat side. I want to hear some good run good stories.
Nice. I mean, I have one.
I want to hear it.
That just runs up to the top of my mind. Right now, that's it. We're just going to roll into it.
Rip it.
All right. So I think we're looking at like January of this year. DraftKings, I live in Indiana, so it's now legal to bet sports in Indiana.
Good precursor there. We don't want anybody to think that you're doing anything illegal.
No, nothing illegal. So, I've dabbled in the DFS game for
kind of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And DFS, for those of us who don't know, is daily fantasy sports.
Right. So, I was always on DraftKings, baseball's my favorite sport, but then football, the prize pools are the biggest because it's the most like popular sport
Oh,
among
yeah.
Americans. And then, I got into basketball too. And then pretty much everything but hockey and golf, I was at MMA. I was playing DFS like a lot.
Do they have DFS
anyway.
for MMA?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. There's DFS for everything. And then they've gotten into a little bit of college sports DFS now. And I mean, there's esports. Pretty much.
Can we talk about DFS just in general for 1 second? Because I think it's really interesting that the whole reason why online poker is no longer legal in the United States was from that gambling act or that Wire Act that talked about where it was like a skilled game versus not, and that was always the argument with poker is that it's a skill game versus just a luck game. But I always thought it was neat that DFS used that statute to actually say that this is legal. And they did have to fight for it a lot, which was probably like in 2010 or 11 when they had all of like the different states were saying yay or nay for daily fantasy sports.
Yeah, that's about right.
But it was
literally
when I was
in college. It was just starting.
Right. It was literally daily fantasy sports came about through all of those apps like DraftKings and I can't think of the other one, FanDuel.
DraftKings and FanDuel.
FanDuel.
Were the two big ones
they literally came about because of the fall of online poker. So poker players that played daily fantasy, it's kind of like a weird, like you broke up with your ex from online poker.
Right, it's like
and
an
then
overlap.
You just switched over to like the new chick, which is now DFS.
Right.
I always think that's funny that it's the reason we can't play online poker is the reason we can do daily fantasy. But anyways, go ahead.
It's the same. It's a weird double-edged
sword. Yeah.
And it's weird because me playing both of them, I pretty much know for a fact that there's more luck or there's more skill in poker than there is in DFS.
Do you think so?
100%. I mean, I shouldn't say 100%, but there's like so much skill that goes in. Like you need so much luck in DFS. Like, yes, the better players are way better than the recreational players.
True.
And like, you can never go on there and fill out a basketball lineup researching articles on the internet and win a tournament. Like, it's just never going to happen. Like, and if it does happen, it's 100% all luck.
You just randomly pick the right guys.
Jamie Gold style to win the main event. Like, it's just like you hit a run good of the century to like win.
Good parlay into that episode name.
I think that there's just so much. Like every single one of my DFS runs, everything late in the game. If you're at a run, if you're like, say you're in the top 100 of a 100,000 person field, so the top 0.1%.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the top one and you're fighting for all the money's up top always because they always want the guarantee.
They're very top heavy.
It's $1,000,000 for first, 500,000 for second, 300,000 for third, 100,000 for fourth, and 50,000 for fifth. So fifth to first is 50,000 to $1,000,000.
That's a huge jump.
And
can you imagine if poker tournaments were paid out like that?
Oh, and what I'm trying to say is it's by a half a point, it's by a quarter of a point, it's by garbage time at the end of the last game. It's if the quarterback kneels backwards and loses 2 yards, you lose 0.2 points, and you can fluctuate from first to fifth. Or a stat correction where the guy went 9 yards, but then they review it and he actually went 11 yards, and you get 0.2, and you shoot up from 21st to third. It's like there's so much variance and luck. And at the end, like one of my sweats was a basketball game, and it literally came down to like the last rebound of the game.
Wow.
And like that shifted hundreds of thousands of dollars. So
it's
like
kind of crazy to think about, yeah.
In that regards, it's kind of like it's all luck, right? I mean, how you at the end of the game, you just need luck. Your guy couldn't have fouled out. You need your guy to be on the floor and the dude to miss the shot, and your guy to get the rebound, or your guy to make the last shot. It's all just kind of a little bit of luck.
Well,
so not only poker, when you get to the end of a final table, assuming it's basically like if all the poker and every single final table you got to, everybody had one big blind.
It's
and
interesting.
Everybody's just all in. It's everybody's kind of just all in, and it's like, well, whoever wins wins.
Whoever wins wins, right? Who's ever going to catch those last couple cards at the end of the game, which you really played all of this game for the whole time to get into the spot you're in, and then to actually get the real money, you have to kind of run really good at the end to, like you said, get that variance out of there. But
I'm sorry, I know I keep rambling on, but on top of it, it's like every poker tournament was so top heavy. So it's like, man, fifth place is nothing, first place is the win, and we all just got to go all in at the end. kind of a lot of luck there, compared to poker where you get down to 3-4 handed and everyone's got big blinds and you can dominate the other person and, outplay them, and luck is still a factor, but not as much.
That's why I always like the World Series, the main event, because it's such a deep tournament and the blinds are so long. I mean, granted, they've got literally, how long does the main event take? Like a week? 9 days?
It's like 11 days, yeah, because there's 3-day ones and 3-day ones and 2-day twos.
I mean, that's insane.
It takes 5 days to get to day 3.
But I mean, just the idea of there's so much play involved in most tournaments, especially charity poker. It's one of the, not a negative, but definitely not a positive, is that when you get down towards the end, we're limited by time where, a lot of times they chop or things of that nature because, again, the blinds are getting big enough where it's like, all right, we're getting less skill involved and more luck, which nobody really wants to have to put all of the money in and have it just be a flip, just be lucky,
Right. Right, especially when you played all that time.
Yeah, like you played a stack tournament, you got a 140-person tournament, and you played for 12 hours, and you get down to the last 7 guys, and it's like, well, crap, there's literally, everybody's got 12, the big stacks got 16 big blinds,
Right, and 4 people have 5, or 3 people have 6, and one guy's got 10, and the guy with 10 big blinds were normally, in a normal tournament, he's like, man, I'm kind of short here, I need to do something. 10 big blinds is kind of like my marker of like, time to get it in.
The panic zone.
Right, the panic zone, whereas all of a sudden 10 big blinds is second in chips, it really...
Yeah, it's a different factor.
It's a whole different factor.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
All right, so lay it on me. What is your run good story for DFS?
So they run on a promo, deposit $500, get a free $500 bet.
Now, what site was this on?
This is on DraftKings.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, cool. You got it. Deposit $500 via PayPal, nice, easy, instantly get it. Place in my first $500 wager, lose the first $500. But now they're like, oh, you get $500, you get a $500 free bet for depositing it. So like, cool.
Nice.
Place another $500 bet wager, win it. So now I've lost one, won one, got $500, but I used up the promo. So I just say, you know what? I don't want to go down the dark road of sports betting like I did in my early 20s and didn't work out for me very well. So I am going to just cash out like within 3 days. I think you have to deposit for 48 hours before you can even cash out. It's like
so you deposit $500, get a $500 free bet, lose the original $500, place the free bet, win the free bet, so you're back to your $500 original, and you're like, I'm out. I'm just going to break even. Give me my $500 back. I'm out.
Because I know how the slippery slope goes.
Absolutely, everybody does.
So cash out next day. I think it was a Monday. I'm driving. I got a little Monday routine where I go to like this restaurant. I go to my parents' house and work out on their Peloton. I weigh myself and I go to the portions. Like pretty much every Monday I do it. I'm going to the restaurant and I get a email and I'm sitting in traffic and I read the email and it's like, hey, we have seen that you have deposited $500 and withdrew $500 within 72 hours of depositing. We would like your business back. Here's a $100 free credit. So they just give me a $100 like free play.
Nice.
Which is pretty good marketing on their part.
Awesome. They're trying to get the hooks in you.
Right. They're trying. I'm like, oh man, it's working. So now I'm like scrolling through I'm like instantly while I'm eating my food. 8 minutes later, I'm on their website scrolling through what I'm going to bet for the night. And there's this one Twitter guy, Tommy G, I follow him. He puts out this basketball card of like eight plays. And I'm like, well, how am I going to pick? I don't know any of these teams. It's Southeast Dakota State. It's Cal Poly.
Right.
Wisconsin. I mean, it's just all these college basketball.
Appalachian State. Like, nobody ever bets on Appalachian State.
Right.
Who the hell knows what they're going to – I don't even know who they're playing.
Right. So the card is like – it's like 8 games, and I'm looking at the time slots. I'm like, I'll be at the shoe at 7. Maybe I can sweat one of these games. Like, you know what? Forget it. I just start because now there's like no limits where if there's like you can parlay up to 20 games, whatever you want to do. Like, they're going to give you the correct odds, the Vegas odds.
I was going to say, in Vegas, can you do the same thing? Do they put a limit on the number of parlays that you like team parlays?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's like 12 or 14. Like, you would never even want to bet more than. And they give you the true odds, which, if you go to a bookie, they're going to be like, all right, you got a 5-team parlay max, and we're going to give you some.
Right. They always cap out. Yeah.
Right.
It's a sucker bet, typically.
Oh, it's a complete sucker. It's a sucker bet even with the correct odds.
Right.
So I go through, I scroll through, I select all 8 teams, and I just put $100. It's like $100 to win $17,650. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So I just click accept. I mean, it's a free bet. What do I have to lose?
You're literally just punting.
Right. I'm just punting. So now, 2 hours later, we're at the shoe. The first 3 6 o'clock games are all blowouts in my favor.
Nice.
It was like 3 6s, 3 7s, and 8 and a 9 is the way that it was for the 8 teams. 3 6s, all win by blowouts. I'm talking like I had -2 or the money line that they just need to win, and they're up by 18, 24. I mean, it's just complete blowouts. So then the second slate of games
Not even
starts.
a sweat.
No, there's zero sweats in this. This is why it's my run good story of life. There is zero sweats. The 7 o'clock games, 30. One team like is up by only 6 at halftime, but they're at home. These are mostly money lines. So all they have to do is win the game. And up by 6 at halftime, the team makes it close. They just go on like a 20-0 run. Next thing I know, it's over. So all the 6 o'clock are in the bank. All the 7 o'clocks are in the bank. At this point, I'm up like 2,000 in the PLO game. I'm like, guys, I'm leaving. I'm going to the sports book. I got 6/8 of the parlay hit, and the 8 o'clock game was rolling. So now I'm like, man, what do I do? Like, do I hedge? Do I, and then I'm like, it's a free bet. I probably shouldn't hedge. And so the 8 o'clock game was Wisconsin, and Wisconsin was up by like 20 at halftime.
Okay.
And I needed them to win. So I went to the sports book and just put $200 on the other team to win. It was like a mini hedge. The $200 on the other team to win the game, and I was getting like 14 or 16 or 18 to 1 because they were down by 20.
Right.
So I put $200 on the other side to, at least if they come back and make a miraculous comeback, I get $3,500 out of this.
Yeah, still a great story. Yeah.
Still a great story. So Wisconsin ends up smashing them. I'm like, well, I wasted that $200. So now I'm down to the last game. It was Cal Poly. I don't know who they were playing, and I went to the sports book at the shoe. I'm like, can you put this game on, please? They're like, we don't even have the channel. I'm like, how do you not have the channel? It's on like Fox Sports West or something because it's a West Coast,
right?
Late night game. And they're like, I don't even have it. And so I'm in the sports book. I'm just sweating it on my phone, and it's like a tie game at halftime. And this group of kids next to me is like sweating. Like an NBA game for like $100 next to me, and they're getting all excited and blah blah blah. They're like, "Oh, well, what are you sweating?" I'm like, "All right, well, check this out." I show them the DraftKings. I'm like, "If this Cal Poly team wins, I just win like 17.5K." And they're like, "Stop it!" I'm like, "On a $100 bet." They're like, "Stop it!" So now they end up winning their bet, and they're huddled around me, sweating my phone.
Oh, because you can't watch it on the TV. You're literally watching on your phone.
No, and we can't even watch on the phone. We're watching the game cast.
Ugh.
We're just watching like a 2-point layup by this guy. We're not even watching a live feed. We're just,
right.
And so now it's halftime and it's tied, and I chicken out a little bit, and I call somebody. I'm like, hey, I need a little bit of a hedge here, and they're like, okay. So I end up putting 1,500 on the other team because it was tied. And I didn't want to go through and win 7 out of 8 and not win anything.
Right.
So I hedged out.
Well, really, you would have lost 200 because you already put in the first $200 bet.
Right. So, right. So I'm like, I want 1,500 on this team. The guy's like, okay, cool, you got it. And then my team was up 9 in the second half, and then I even checked out a little bit more, and it was like the horseshoe had live odds of like 15 to 1 on the other team. I'm like, all right, I'm gobbling up another $500 to win 6,500. So now I had $2,200 in hedges, lost the first 200, had the 1,500 in, and then I put that live bet in. My team ended up winning by like 15. So I won the $17,000 parlay.
Jesus.
And I had $2,200 in hedges, so it was like 15,000 profit. And then it was just boom, right? And it wasn't like you get to play this off because it was a free play, right, or you have to release it by like playing so much. It was like, nope, it's in there.
Jeez.
And then I cashed out a chunk 3 days later, and then a chunk 3 days later, and I left some in there. And that's where we're at today. I bet Russian ping pong last night because it's the only thing rather than.
Wow, Russian ping pong. That's got to be.
It's pretty exhilarating because the games are so fast, and I didn't bet much, just $100, small stuff. I won, but
I can't believe they actually have that on DraftKings. That's hilarious.
That is what DraftKings is offering.
Wow, they're going to start putting bets out on WWE because it seems to be the only actual sport still going.
So that's my run good story. Free $100 that I shouldn't even have gotten because DraftKings wanted my business, and then I banked a 17K parlay.
Wow.
And it's probably, to be honest, probably the first time I've ever put in an 18 parlay, because I know how just they never hit.
How stupid it is. Well, it's not stupid, but it's just dumb luck.
It's a sucker bet. Right.
Because it never happens. I mean, you ever do like a 3-team parlay, you always get 2/3, but you don't get anything for 2/3. You only get something for all 3.
Right. I couldn't imagine hitting 6 out of 8 or 7 out of 8 and be like, man, if I just bet these separately, it would have been a nice day. But you bet them all together, and you're a loser.
It's insane.
Yep. So that's my run good story. Yeah, I mean, it was a good little run.
It is a good little run.
Plus, I booked the $2,000 winner at the Horseshoe. All the kids were super excited for me that were sweating.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that is the best part about sports, right? And that's why I think people like to gamble on sports or gamble in general. It's the idea of the crowd around you getting behind you because everybody wants to feel like they're part of that win. And by those guys being there, they now feel like they have the story to tell that they were with this guy who had this 18 parlay and $100 free bet. Like, it's like the gambler's Hail Mary. It's not even a Hail Mary. It's a half Statue of Liberty, half Hail Mary play. Like, it's just, it's insane that those things happen. And that's what's so fun. I mean, I think that's why people gamble, right? That's why people play poker, because you want those stories. You want the moneymaker effect, right? You want to say, I played in a free roll that got me a $2 satellite ticket that I won, that got me into another satellite, that got me into another satellite, that got me into another satellite, that got me a main event seat that he then ran into. What did Moneymaker actually win when he won the main event?
I think it was $2 million.
Was it 2?
I think it was 2.
That was right before the huge boom, because once he won through online poker like exploded.
Right.
Because again, the story got out that this guy ran up, an 80-cent sit and going, I don't really know what it is. I mean, I think it was like a $6 ticket that he played in, or $6 tournament that he parlayed all the way into a $2 million winner. But I mean, that's the ultimate, right? That's the ultimate story. Everybody wants to have that story or know a friend of a friend of a friend who did it, and that's what happened,
Yep. I mean, I'm reading here it was an $80 satellite.
That's what he played in?
Put in an $80 satellite, and I think it was $2.5 million. Pretty close. $2.5 million from 80.
That makes your $100 free bet into $17,000 seem kind of chumpy.
It does. But mine was in 3 hours, and I didn't have to do anything.
Well, my run good story was at a card club in Texas, in Houston. I went down there and I heard about this really big PLO game. They played 1-2-5, which is the same game that they play here in Chicago, right? $2 blinds with a $5, complete. And I think it was $1,000 max buy-in. So I bought in for the max and just instantly started hitting good cards, running it up a little bit. I think I get it up to like maybe 1,800, 2,000. And then I went on a stretch that was just insane, where I would literally flop the world, right? Flush draw, straight draw. I mean, the nut flush draw, the nut straight draw. I've got, middle pair, so I'm thinking I got 2 pair draws. I bink the turn and just drill my straight, right? Just drill it the Broadway. And then and I'm betting pot the whole way. I bet pot on the flop. I bet pot on and I'm getting called by like 4 guys. Like, it's not like me. It's not heads up play. I mean, Texas is a little crazy in the fact that people they don't fold. They just want action. So, of course, I'm playing like a 4-way pot where I've got the stone cold nuts, and it's this huge pot in the middle. I mean, it's, $700 pot on the turn. And, of course, the board comes out, the Rivers pairs the board. So now I'm like, shit, there's no way I can be good after playing.
Right, you can't beat 3
4
people
guys.
in the board pairs.
And I'm like, first to act, so I checks all the way around, and my straight's good. I'm like, I got Broadway. It's good. Everybody mucks. I'm like, holy cow. That literally happened like 4 times, where I turned the stone cold nuts, bet super aggressive the whole way, and then totally get shafted on the river. The flush draw hits, the board pairs. I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to be good. How could I run this bad? And I'm like, check. I got a flush. Yeah, it's good. I'm like, how is that possible? It was like the most opposite of like, I could not have run any better. I got really good cards, and that's PLO in general, right? You want to start off with good cards. You want to flop a lot of different draws. You turn your winner, and then you hope it holds on the river, right? And every single time it worked out. I got good cards. I bet it. I flopped the world, bet it again, turned the nuts, not even like the second nuts or the third nuts. I mean, the stone cold nuts. And then, boom, I get shafted on the river every single time. But every single time I was good. I think I ran up my $1,000 into like 7,500.
Yeah.
And then the feeder game
awesome.
broke and I went to the main game. And my 7K was like the third shortest stack. I mean, these guys were just chunk. It was, I mean, I was way out of my league for the amount that I was playing at, because I mean I'm not comfortable playing for that much money. So I think I played. Sure. I think I went to the final table. I went to the main game. I had about $5,000, and then like 3 hands in, I had aces and fives double suited, and the flop was like 5, 2, king, and so I flopped middle set, which is pretty standard when you got fives. You're either going to flop bottom or middle set. You're never really going to flop top set. And
if you do flop top set, there's a straight out there. So
yep. So I'm in early position. I check. There's 5 guys behind me. Somebody bets pot. I'm like, well, I'm kind of closing the action. So I'm like, all right, well, for another 500, whatever it is, I can see another card. And sure enough, I call, and I think it bricked the turn. One guy bet he only had like a small amount left, $800 or something.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I only had like 1,000.
Again, relative to how much money was on the table, this $800 all in was like a nothing bet. And again, there's like,
right.
I don't even know, 3K in the pot already. And sure enough, again, I'm closing the action. So I'm like, all right, let's see if we can peel off a winner here. I'm kind of thinking somebody's got kings, and I'm just really drawn to 1-5, maybe an ace. There's already, I think the turn put out more straight cards on it. Anyways, the board pairs in the river with whatever the bottom card was, like a 3. So I have a full house 5 over 3s. The only thing that beats me is pocket 3s and kings.
Pocket kings.
And of course, I check it again. It gets checked all the way down, and I roll over to 5s, and sure enough, I'm good. I was like, how is this possible? And it was like the 4th hand I was there. I think I was up to like a little over 8. Played for like maybe another half hour, got it down to like 7,500. It was one of those things where it was like perfect stacks, where I didn't have any other, between my green, black, and red, they were all even. Like I was exactly at like 7,500 and like 13 singles. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. Like, I'm not going to get any better than this. I don't want to just chump all of this money away. And I just walked away, and it was good. But I mean, it was one of those days where just every card that I wanted to hit in my mind hit. And then even the ones that did come out where I'm like, don't pair the board, don't pair the board, don't pair the board. Damn it, board paired. Still was good on those, which is just...
Yeah, because that's the recipe to get soaked in PLO, is honestly to make your hands on the turn and then not hold on the river when you keep putting a bunch of money in the pot. Like, that's how you, like, run bad. Like, short of, like, getting it all in on the flop and then, like, just not getting there, or, like, your set gets run down by... Like, the way to lose the most money in PLO is to make a bunch of hands on the turn.
And then not have them hold up.
Because you have to get the money in. There's nothing else you can do besides getting the money in with the nuts on the turn.
So I'll throw a question at you here, just to kind of switch gears up a little bit.
All right, I have another quick run good story that I just remembered while you were telling that. You can ask this question and I'll go back to it.
My question was, that exact scenario that you're talking about, when you get it all in on the turn in PLO and people want to run it twice, are you a run it twice guy, or are you a run it once guy?
I'm always twice.
You're always twice?
Twice always. Twice always, whether I'm
especially when
you're $1 million or up $1 million.
Now, what about and you never change if you're drawing or made?
No,
it's always the same. Like I'm the same way. I always let the other guy decide, because I figure at that point it's out of my hands. And if you want to run it once, I'm good with once. If you want to run it twice, I'm good with twice. I used to be a guy that always said I'll either run it 1 or 3 times. I always liked the odd number, so that at least I could get 2/3 of the pot versus only half.
66 or 100.
Yeah, get 66, or get a small loser on the other side, the 34. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, that's good math.
Yep.
So anyways, yeah, I'm a run it twice guy too. Now, what was your second B story?
Really quickly on that note, I like the best, which they don't really do anywhere, is like Macau or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty sweet way. Like it's called Macau. You run it 3 times, but if the guy wins the first and the second board, it's just over.
Really?
Yeah. So like if me and you are on the turn and I got the nuts and you got a set and a flush draw, first board brick, second board brick, that's it. I win the whole pot.
You don't even run it a third time.
No, but if we run it and first board pairs the board, you got a full house freebie. Second board bricks, Well, now we've each won 33, and then the last one is for 33% of the pot.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's kind of like what I talked
like
about with.
It's a hybrid
with like a contingency of if you win the first 2 races, you win it all.
Yeah,
that's pretty gross.
Because that way it's like, oh, you get the full pot if you manage to win the first 2. You win the full pot like you ran it twice and scooped.
Nice.
But if it splits the first 2, it's like, oh, well, this is going to be a chop pot. Let's run it one more time for 66.33.
For a little extra.
Right. But then it gets into chopping with the dealer, and that kind of sucks. But that's a moot point because, I mean, if you got good dealers, it shouldn't be that big a deal. But a lot of times it gets confusing, and people want to try and take shortcuts and getting quartered and getting third.
Yeah, I always find that a lot of the times I'm like, just quit arguing about it. Just put the money in and then let the dealer chop it up 3 ways. That way nobody feels like they got slighted, right?
Right.
Because we know what the math is. What is the math? You have to give them like 1/4 of your stack or something?
It's like 1/4 of
whatever the other guy has or something.
Yeah,
and the math works out, but it's just people always feel like, well, wait, that doesn't sound right, and it's like, fine, don't do it. Just put it in, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, and just let them just chop it up. It's not that hard to chop it up into thirds.
So when you're running, go ahead.
The quarter it's when you give a quarter of when you give them half your stack and then 1/4 of the pot. That's when you get quartered. When you get thirded, it's a little weirder.
Weird.
Yeah.
This is why I always just put my money in and let the dealer figure it out and make sure it's right.
Correct.
At least then you can visually see what's going on.
Right.
So just kind of closing up the run good feelings, run good vibes, so to speak. Do you change your play or do anything different when you feel like you're running good? Meaning, like if you're playing in a tournament and you kind of run on a stretch of cards, do you find that your range is open? Meaning, I'm kind of on a little run here, so I'm going to keep pushing it. Do you flip to the conservative side, like, hey, I've accumulated these chips, let's try to hang on to them for a second? Are you still just going to play your same game no matter what if you've been winning or losing previously? What's the Brandon tip of the day?
I think it's 2 mentalities in the tournament world. I'm flip the switch off and just chill conservatively and know I got big blinds for days and I hit my rush and now I don't need to hit another rush.
And you can wait for
hours.
Premium hands and play them very aggressively and kind of go from there.
Yes. Especially in big tournaments. I mean, if it's like a $30 single or something.
Yeah, I'm talking big money events where first place is a not life changing money, but close to life changing money. I mean, anybody who's going to play for $100,000 first place prize, I don't care how much money you make. That's a life changing event. I mean, you get to do a lot of stuff with that.
Right. Like a really quick example. I max late regged the monster stack when you were at the final table of the PLO because I was just sweating. It was after dinner break. It was like 7 hours into the tournament. I registered blinds are 1,000, 2,000. I got 30,000. I spun up 30,000 to like 280,000 in like an hour. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like I sat back, sat conservatively, still managed not to cash. But like I remember flipping the switch off. I was like, oh, I gambled early. I won a race. I won another one. I hit a flush draw. Now I got 300,000. Like I could
chill a little bit.
I'm just gonna chill. Whereas like cash games, especially in like the wilder PLO sessions, if I buy in for 500 and it's a brand new game and people are kind of splashing around and the 100 bombers are getting in there and I win the first couple all-ins and usually they're like 4-way all-ins and
right.
I got like 1,400, just say 1,500. I'm gonna be more gambly with these guys that are 100 and 200 bombing, and when the game is going off like that and I just spun up 500 to 1,500, like I'm definitely just in straight gamble mode. Like I'm gonna take this 1,000 and
you're gonna push the envelope.
In my mind, it's like a free 1,000 that I just spun up because I got lucky on a 4-way all in, and I ran good, and I'm just gonna try and just run over the whole table. Not run over the whole table, just win a couple.
No, I get
more
what you
all
mean.
in.
Yeah, just keep going.
Right, keep going. It's like, a guy with 500 isolated. It's like, I'm gonna put in this 500. I'm gonna try to have 4,000 after this hand.
Nice.
And then it kind of gets back to reality when you lose one and you're back to like 800-900. You're like, all right, well now I'm only up, 300-400. This is a nice start to the day. You had your chance to get 4,000
really run it up,
hour, and you bricked, which usually is going to happen. You can't just win 4-way all-ins over and over again. So then I kind of pump off the gas and, all right, I'll play like
a normal person
player. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not really a normal in PLO.
No, there's less psycho.
There's like full-blown serial killer, and then just like the guy that randomly kills his neighbor, right? Like that's
Right.
PLO. Like you were going with the I'm just going to murder like one or two people versus like a full-blown killing spree.
Yes, that's a weird analogy.
It
but
is.
Yes.
Yep. I regret saying it as soon as I did. I promise
okay.
I've never. My neighbors do not need to worry about me in any way, shape, or form. I'm a very sweet guy.
It's very ironic that we might have had a different phone conversation about that 24 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So do we have enough time for me to tell a quick bad beat story or a good story or no?
Yeah, we're at about 35 minutes, so I'd like to keep the episodes under 40.
Minutes?
Yeah, it goes
All
quick.
Right, well, 17 years old, absolute poker, free rolls every Tuesdays and Thursdays that started at 3 o'clock. High school ends at 2:42.
Perfect
I gotta
timing.
get registration opens at 2:55 and it sells out in under 5 seconds because this is the AP days.
Right.
Absolute poker. It's prime time. I have to either hit a bus, get somebody who has a car, speed out of the parking lot because the traffic at school is a
Getting
joke.
out of high school parking lots is pretty. It's like trying to win 4 all-ins in a PLO game altogether.
There's like the band practice field and the driveway went around it. I would just drive through the band practice field.
Nice.
And cut off like 60 cars. Get home, run, boot up the computer, which back then isn't that great.
Nope,
it's
took a
not
while.
Like these fast ones. Yeah, get on there, boom, 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 register. All right, well, and it was top. It was like 2,500 people in the tournament. Top 180 got $25. That was the free roll that we played every Tuesday and Thursday in high school. So they did like a special because they were doing a 100K guaranteed tournament, and it was a one of these free rolls was going to be 180 places get paid, but the top 5 get free seats into this $200 buy-in 100K guarantee. Like it's like the Poker Stars Million, the biggest tournament of the week was 100K guarantee back then. Because this is literally 2006, 2007. This is before all these $1 million prize pools and stuff like that. It's just when poker's getting going. So get in there. I remember I had a physics project with a partner. We had to do a bridge made out of toothpicks. So we're doing this bridge made out of toothpicks in my computer room. I'm running deep in this free roll. We get down, fast forward hours. It's 10, 11 p.m. This bridge isn't made. My mom's yelling at me, like, what are we doing? I'm down to like 7 people in this free roll. End up getting my buddy who's really good at poker, was way better at poker than me. Long-haired Jamie used to deal at CCG. I'm like, yo, bro, get us into the top 5 here and we'll split this tournament. He grinds the bubble for like 2 hours. It's 2 a.m. in high school. Me and my other partner are doing this physics project. He binks it. We're in the top 5. Fast forward to the Sunday. We're 16 years old. We're in a $200 tournament. We run all the way down to the final table of this $200 tournament. End up getting 5th place for like $7K. We had no idea what we were doing. By the end of it, we had like 7 high school. Like we had like basically a party. My mom ordered pizza. Like there was, Mountain Dew everywhere.
Right.
I mean, it was just like there was this huge sweat. And like my high school, we had a huge poker following. We organized a $10 buy-in tournament junior year of high school that got 140 live players in it.
Jesus.
We did 2 tables at like 9 kids' houses, and then we combined all at one kid's house for day 2. That's another story. It was called the Fall Classic. We ran it 5 years in a row. It was pretty fun. But so I spun a free roll seat up to I think we cashed for like $8K. So we split it $4K each. And again, this was the days the account was in my dad's name. It was net teller. They just cashed out. It was in my dad's net teller account in like 4 hours. He withdrew a check and like he had the money in his hand 24 hours later.
Wow.
Because that was the speed process back then. Because nothing was illegal, nothing was being flagged,
Right.
nothing was.
It was easy.
Illegal. Right. It was just so easy. And so yeah, that's how I bought my first car.
Nice.
Was from a free roll on AP.
That's insane. Well, good.
That was pretty good.
Good
That was
run
the
good
same
stories,
car that
Brandon.
you wouldn't ride in. But yeah.
See, isn't it more fun to tell run good stories versus bad beat stories? Nobody ever wants to
It
hear the
is. The
sad bad
problem
beat
is-
stories.
The problem is we've told 3 run good stories. I think I'm out.
Yeah, I only have one.
That was it.
I have one that I
was
can
from
remember.
2006 to 2020. I got 2.
But those are the ones that you remember the most. So that's good.
Yeah, those are the ones that are good.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 6. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're not watching us because you're creeping on me in my office, which is super weird, especially since you're supposed to be at home because it's COVID-19, so stay the hell out of my windows.
Yes.
Yeah, episode 6. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. I wanted to do a quick funny thing. I've been checking out the stats of the podcast, and we've had over 200 downloads, and we've only been doing this for what? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, already 200 downloads. And the crazy part is we've got some downloads from like Nigeria. We've got some downloads from a couple in Europe, a ton of people in Austin, Texas. So shout out to Alex out there in Austin. Hopefully you're listening to this one. My buddy Cedric, who's actually going to be on the podcast soon. We're not quite sure when, but soon. He's called the Poker Traveler on Instagram, so check him out as well. But long story short, please continue to listen. We love your support, and thank you very much. Brandon, have you come up with a tagline yet?
I haven't.
Okay. Brandon's still tagless.
It's COVID-19.
COVID-19. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.